I am Abdul Karim Ali Abdo. Let me just go back and remember some of the dear classmates that were with me in Aden College at the time. Um, Qais Ghanem, Muhammad Girgira, Reza Yusuf, Awad Mabgar, uh, Gafar Abdul Saleh, Ghazi Abdullah Tarabusi, and many others, Dinod Shah, Kishore Shah. These are some of the classmates that were with me at the time in the first class of Aden College. We had some of the most proficient and kind teachers at the time, both Adeni and British. Those that come to mind now are Miller, who taught us sciences, Focus, who taught us geography, Hunt, who taught us maths at the time. Then there were the Adeni component of teachers, Lotfi Aman, Ibrahim Roble, and Mr. Nazir, who augmented the teaching establishment with their own specialties. Teaching was very, very intense at the time, but was also rewarding. It was the highest educational level that we could reach at the time in the colony in Aden. We continued. I continued until 1956 at the time of the O level, and left soon after. I proceeded to go and work at the Aden refinery, which was built at that time. Politically, the refinery was established after the British were asked to leave Iran at the time, so they decided to come and open the British Petroleum Company in Aden. So I was one of the fortunate students who went to work there, first as a student and then as an employee. And eventually I continued to work there as a manager of their employee health services in their branch, in their bunkering branch of that was in Steamer Point. There was a branch of BP, but it was solely utilized to bunker the ships that used to come to Aden. I was in charge of an employee setting of, I recall, 200 or 300 people, providing health services for their employees. I forgot to mention that I went to England in 1958, soon after I left the college. I went to work in BP for a couple of years, then ventured to England and registered myself in their public health services and worked in both public health nursing and occupational health both services. I stayed there until 1962 and gained a lot of experience in British hospitals at many levels. Emergency services, their burns units, their general health services, which gave me a basic background and foundation in understanding the whole notion of public health service, which helped me to come back and work in Aden since then. I continued to work in Aden until 1967, when the trouble started between FLOSSY and NLF and so on and so forth. At that time, I got a bit restless and applied to some hospitals in Canada and was lucky enough to be accepted, and came to Canada in 1968, I believe. Came to Kingston and worked there. Worked for a while. At the same time, I enrolled at Queen's University and finished a degree in sociology while continuing to work full-time at the hospital. I also was fortunate enough to be given accommodation to train myself in infection control, a specialty that I trained for at Ottawa University, and got my certificates from there, and augmented those certificates with some training from the CDC in Atlanta, Georgia, through some correspondence courses, which helped me to really work the rest of my career in the area of infection control and communicable disease services. I enjoyed it tremendously, and it gave me an opportunity to venture, work in the Middle East for a number of, I think for a year, through the kind arrangement of a good friend, Ashraf Girgra, who happened to be in the Middle East at that time, and encouraged me to come and work in the same hospital that he was working at. And I worked there for a year, and funny enough, Qais Ghanem was also involved in working with us in the same hospital in a different capacity. He was doing neurology at the time. I was doing infection control. Ashraf was doing public relations. We were all involved in our own disciplines of work. I then decided to come back to Canada to continue on work with the Ontario government, where I had started working for a number of years, and until I semi-retired from working there. I was restless at the time because I didn't want to just retire and do nothing, and an opportunity came to go and work in the Northwest Territories. In Yellowknife, I was involved in managing, again, the health service department for the whole of the territories. It was an opportunity which was really precious for me, because I came to know the north of Canada, the Inuit people, the Metis people, and the Dene people. These are the Indian natives or the original natives of Canada. So I was lucky enough to get a chance to work with them for a number of years. I think I worked there for about 4 years. Health-wise, I wasn't able to continue. The cold weather was really severe at the time. Minus 50 degrees wasn't something to continue to work with, especially when you're getting old. So I decided to come back to Canada and pretty well retire on a full-time basis